Hello. It's Monday again, and that means that I'm here for a bit, as with most Mondays, but not all Mondays, paradoxically. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well today. Um, I'm very, don't know, bit tired. You can probably see from my eyes. I think you can do that. I don't really know. My eyes are weird anyway. But how is it going? It's coming tome. Very nice. Hello. Hello, definitely Kyle. Hello, Bella. Nice to see you as well. Hello, Charlie. Unless your name really isn't Charlie. I suppose we'll find out. How is it all going? I have my beverage, my tea. Is it gonna? Yeah, it is gonna do that again. It's yellow, by the way, as with most days, but nevertheless, um, bit of cha. No, I keep forgetting cha is coffee, and I can't remember what the sort of working class slang for tea is. It depends, I think, like how many bits you put in it. Well, bits, sugar, and other such things. How is it? How are all the things? Magic teacup, yes. Hello from Scotland. Hello, Drifty Wheels. How is it going in Scotland? I think I've been to Scotland, have I? Yes, I have. I went to Edinburgh, and I went somewhere where there was like streets under the streets, and I don't know. I think I don't know. I went down with like a tour guide, and I think someone had like a sort of Christmas ornament thrown at them by a ghost. It was that probably didn't happen, but there was something weird going on, and some women were upset. But you know, how is it? Is that the real tone? It could be. I mean, it's hard to tell with me. There's a lot of variance with everything, so it's hard to be conclusive on such a broad question. So this is the little thing that I do on Mondays, where we can talk about War Thunder for 2 hours or anything else. You can basically ask me anything. Um, Probably let's go with 90% War Thunder, 10% something else. Otherwise, everything will derail very quickly, and we'll start talking about space for an hour and a half, which is never very good, unless the context, of course, is about space, which is not. This is about War Thunder and how the game works. And if there's anything you are particularly looking for advice or help with, I can do my best to help you out because I have spent a very long time playing this game, and I might as well put some of that time to good use in an event like this. Space, space, space? Maybe space later. Depends if we get any space related questions. Bit sunny in Scotland? That is bizarre. It's actually quite sunny here as well. It's sort of during the week for like 2 days it's miserable, and then it's unbearably warm. So there's no kind of grace period. It's all, don't know, uncomfortable, much like real life. Hello from Germany. Hello from Germany as well. I'm not from Germany initially, but I'm in Germany right now. This tea is quite cold actually. Why is this? My vacuum cup's not working. Terrible. Did you watch the football game yesterday? I did not. I think Italy won. I think I'm not really bothered about football. I don't have much agency in it. I'm actually quite glad that Britain didn't win. Otherwise, they would never shut up about it for the next 50 years. So I'm glad with this outcome. Um, how do I get custom skins on console without the loot crates? It's not possible right now. This is not a decision that we've made to exclude consoles to have this feature. It's literally down to Microsoft and Sony that don't allow um, the kind of marketplace systems that would accommodate for user-made content like that. It all needs to be sort of checked and cleared and that kind of thing, and it's not feasibly possible uh, from their perspective. If it was down to us and we had complete control over everything, user skins, everything would be on consoles as well. But it's just sadly not something that we have any ultimate jurisdiction over. So it's not down to us. Sadly, I don't believe it's something possible right now. Not hear cars honking till 3 a.m. No, I mean I had my window closed, and it's quite good with it closed. I can't really hear much outside, but that does seem like the sort of thing that would happen, which I'm glad I missed. Hello, Verizon. Thank you for your weekly comments. Very, very good. I agree with you. It's my favourite Spitfire variant just because it's pointy, and I quite like pointy things. Hey, hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good day too. Hope you have a good day. Miles, go to bed. This, please. You must sleep, my mans. So, favorite tank? Oh, difficult. What is my favorite tank? I don't really know. I sort of, I think my answer probably changes a lot because I don't really have a favorite, or at least I don't approach the game in a way that I would have favorites. Um, I don't know. I usually want to say the KV-1S or the Yak Panther because I like both of them. Um, they're just, I don't really know if it's that I think they're vehicles that are intrinsically incredibly powerful. I think it's just the way that I play the game fits how they work perfectly. So I kind of like them like that. Those two might be some of my favorites, but I don't know. I really don't know. Churchill Mark III as well is another one. I quite like heavy tanks, or at least tanks that have a lot of armor, because you can make quite good use of them by situationally being aggressive and defensive, and there's a lot that comes with them. So I quite like that. Um, Favorite reserve vehicle? That's actually a really good question. That's a really good question. What do we think? Hmm. I don't know. I think it's probably a dead heat between the M2A4 and the BT5. Just in terms of performance, I think those two are some of the best. Um, Germany used to be very good with the Panzer II C as the reserve, but now not quite, as their reserves are now the 35T and the Panzer III-B, both of which aren't incredible. Um, I don't know if I could pick between them. I think I like the M2A4 probably better than the Stuart due to the short stabilizer or the shoulder stabilizer for the reaction time. And I think that probably will be my pick. I do like both though, but I don't know if I could pick between both. Um, you said the Egg Panther was one of your favorites back in that video, especially at 6.0. Yeah, if it goes to 6.0, um, difficult one I think with the BR changes. I think it's a vehicle that a lot of people probably misplay, but when it's played, I don't want to say correctly, but played sort of in a way that maximizes its strengths and nullifies its weaknesses, it will be incredibly strong at that BR. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, Jagdpanther is really, really good vehicle. Fantastic vehicle. Um, what else we got? Favorite reserve tank from a minor nation? I'd probably say the M8 for China, but I don't know if that counts in your metric as it's, well, I guess technically not a reserve for, well, for minor nation. It's an American vehicle. Um, hmm. I would probably go with that one if that one doesn't count. What do I think? Maybe one of the M13s for Italy, and a lot of people don't rate those, but I really like the gun and the armor can actually work quite well. So I like those. I'm not really sure. Ultimately, I don't play well that low tier as much, so I'm not sure if I've really played them enough to kind of get a sort of larger opinion on that. But I'm not sure. Maybe one of the M13s I quite like. Italy, I think, has some pretty good stuff. Do you have some input on BR changes? Yes, I do. Some input. Not it's not really a case of you know writing a paragraph about why something should be a different BR. It doesn't really work completely that way. BR changes are data informed, which is always a good way to go in the sense that you can't really sway something just by a couple of objective sentences because there's a lot of it that comes down to personal preference, confirmation bias, what you've personally experienced based on what other players might experience, and you need to consider everybody on the whole rather than just if you see yourself as a very good player, your perspective might be valuable, but not necessarily objective in the sense that the majority of the player base will not have the same experience as you, and therefore nothing can really be balanced around just those perspectives as a whole. So there's a lot more that goes into figuring out just where everything should be, and yeah, so I do have some perspective on it and some ability to, talk about some changes I think should be included, but it's, my word is seldom enough to get something changed on the surface. It depends on lots of other factors, but I do have some ability here and there to get some things changed, which I've done in the past. I've got some things altered in the past. But yeah, it's not like, it's a room with me and another guy saying, do this, do this, do this. I have a very small ability to have my own input, but it's, I'm grateful for the ability nonetheless. Um, what is a P40 tank? Yeah, it's the Italian 3.3, the P40. Quite a good vehicle, quite underrated, I think. Its APHE round does suffer a little bit in the up tiers. I think it's only about 75 millimeters penetration, which is not a lot, especially for up tiers, especially if you meet KV1s and such. But it does have the heat round as well, which is pretty decent for what it is. And yeah, it's actually deceptively well armored, especially if you angle it. When angled, that thing can be really, really good to the point where it doesn't seem like it should be as well armored as it is, but it really is. gun mantlet as well. The side armor, the angled side armor, can be pretty powerful. Yeah, it's a tricky one, and it's somewhat underrated. But when you can get sort of around the gun and know when to use the heat and the APHE, it can be a really, really good vehicle. What do we got? I think I have got missed a lot of comments here. What's your favorite helicopter? I don't know. I don't really play helicopters that much, so I've mostly just been going on visuals. I like the H-35 because it just looks dumpy. I like things that just look a bit, I don't know, silly like that. So from an aesthetic standpoint, I probably like that one, but I don't really play helis enough to be able to come to a complete conclusion there, I think. Yeah, Greek dude, I am still working on it. I've got all the footage done. I just need to get sort of in the right mindset, I suppose, to be able to do the recording and do the script. Because I think the script, I mean, it's going to sound really pretentious, I think, but I find that the scripts that I do are the best when I'm in literally like the perfect mindset for it, and I'm really kind of hyped to make the video kind of special, I guess. I can generally write objectively about the vehicle and record it but at any time. But I think to kind of have that element of sort of personality to it, so it's not just like a monotone do this, do this, do this, don't do this kind of video. I need to wait until it's like it clicks. There's moments where it clicks, and I can literally write 10,000 words in like 2 days. And if I'm not really in that mindset, I can still make the video, but it usually doesn't turn out as kind of, I guess, useful as I want it to. So right now, I think I need to wait a little bit to be able to get back into that mindset to be able to do it properly. But it's not too far off, I think. Before I go on my little holiday, I will be able to get it done. So hopefully soon. Show T, you can probably see a bit of it if I tilt. There you go, bit of T there. Don't want to tilt it too far, otherwise disaster will ensue over the desk. Yeah. What do we have? What's YouTube doing? I the same question asked 100 times. Good to see we've got the bingo card of YouTube comments already. How to do good in 5.7 Soviet tank? I'm not sure really how to answer that. I mean, it's a very difficult question to answer briefly, as I mean, you do have a lot of options there. And it depends really on what vehicle you're using, because the skills from one vehicle won't necessarily translate to another one. Is there a vehicle in particular you're struggling with a bit? I can definitely try and help, but I probably need a little bit more to go on than just 5.7 Soviets, as I might end up going into a question, well, going to an answer that's not necessarily helpful, and I would rather streamline responses. Will I be going to hell for going bomber hunting in the 288? No, I mean, it's quite a robust bomber to do that. You have the speed to kind of gunship, and it does definitely work, and it can be quite fun to do that. So yeah, there's a use in that, as long as you're careful. Yeah, as long as you don't bully too many people, I think that's still a tactic that can work. I will pour myself some more beverage. I want to keep it topped up because that generally increases the temperature, which is very nice. It's like the molecules are huddling together like penguins, which is quite cute. Bombers go bomber hunting are terrible humans. Well, that's subjective there, but maybe. It depends what bombers you're hunting. Some of them don't deserve to be bullied, I would say. There's no need to be sorry. If it gets you results and it gets you to where you want to be in the game, then go for it. As long as you're not doing anything objectively horrible, then it's sort of mostly fine. Favorite heavy bomber? Year 2, I think, is my favorite. I really like the Year. It's a vehicle that when you can utilize its agility, sounds silly, but if you play it, you'll know what I mean. It's really fun. The Year has 2 good turns in it, 2 good turns of decent maneuverability. And after 2 good turns with Fighter on your tail, they have been, well, you've bled enough speed from them to leather them with a 20 mil on the top. And it's so fun to do that because even the best players in an aircraft will not take you seriously. And once you've bled their speed and you know how to aim that 20 mil, you can knock anyone out. Easy for me to say within sort of showing it, because if you get hit a couple of times and you get your engine taken out, it gets a bit harder. But if you can minimize the damage you take on the first turns and use that agility to do a couple of good turns, it's a really good bomber. I like it a lot. Um, hey Collusion, how are you doing? E100 when? What do you mean? Where do you have it? How not to die in tanks, planes, ships? That's a very broad question there. I can try and help though. British tea on a Tuesday. Yes. Man, we definitely do say words weird. I suppose everyone says words weird. Yeah. Crazy how language works. Bizarre. Life in general, yes. I mean, those two aspects do sort of have some pairing, I think. Which also comes down to common sense, I think. Using common sense in this game will keep you alive a lot longer. That sounds like a very vague thing to say, but it does somewhat work. These are very specific favorite bomber questions. I don't really know if I have many favorites beyond that. Do you know when the BR changes will be implemented? It's usually, I don't really know, but within 2 weeks of them being live, I think, so enough feedback can be gathered. Probably around that metric. I'm not sure actually. I don't think it's usually a sort of by this point they're implemented. It's sort of varied, I guess, depending on the nature of the change. But yeah, probably not too long. But we'll have to see. Can we get a hint on when Operation Summer will start? I can't give you a hint, but there'll be some events in the future. Not necessarily any particular events, but there'll be something occurring soon, probably, maybe. Why is there a limit on decals? Not sure really. I mean, I suppose it's just to keep things from being, painted in decals and that kind of thing. I mean, back in the day, when you could make decals giant, you could sort of cover an entire heavy bomber in huge flags and stuff, and it kind of broke the thematics of the game a little bit. So maybe it's down to that. I'm not sure really. It's is the watermelon still intact? Yeah, it's still in the fridge. I wouldn't really fancy your chances of letting it sort of exist in the open air for too long, though. Although we can try something potentially. Yeah. What else do we have? Tips on the Scent Mark III? Well, I think one of the biggest things for the Scent is to not overextend because it struggles a lot when it's in that environment, especially down to its poor sort of reactive mobility, its weak side armor, and its reload after the initial first stage is depleted. It's not a very good tank to be beyond the front lines very long. You can certainly play it on the front lines if you can sort of point yourself to where the enemies are, but it certainly has a lot of advantages that lead it to staying alive a lot longer beyond that, beyond the front lines, or beyond the front lines and further back. Defensively, it works very, very good, which is sort of counter to its stabilizer. The stabilizer works very, very well at 7.3. Even above, I mean, stabilizers are hugely, hugely useful. So that's certainly a metric. But if you show a sliver of over-angled side armor to, a 122 or anything that's really heat, Sabo, it's going to cut through. Even APHE if you're angled. So it's a vehicle that you need to be careful with in engaging on the front lines because it is a vehicle that doesn't really get many advantages from being on the front lines. Your Sabo round, even the AP round, will work fine at a distance. There's no need to really put yourself around the extra risk of engaging at close range. So, defensively, hold down. It does have its merits beyond the front line. So that's probably a way to keep it alive longer. Although if you are confident with being aggressive and you know that you're not overextending, you can play it quite aggressively on the front lines because it does have aspects of a heavy tank in that its frontal armor is very strong. But if you meet someone that knows the lower plate exists and can put an APHE round in there, there's not a lot you can do. So it's a good idea to be a bit more passive with it, at least until you get the engine upgrades. At that point, it's a little bit easier to to keep it alive and make it work. So I think that's probably what I would recommend. How do I make the Oxy decal on the plain sail? You can use just the numbers 02 and the Moustache decal if you have that from the Thunder League, or the Ace of Spades decal. I use the the moustache one because it's sort of a more solid black. Although I don't really use it anymore. It sort of helps people recognize me because I don't play on the account with the name anymore. So I don't use it too much, but that's generally how it's made. Will you be at next year's Gamescom? I don't know if I'd feel particularly comfortable at a Gamescom. Um, Maybe not, but I don't know. Probably, I'd say probably not, but it depends. I don't even know if we go to one, but maybe. It's it's a maybe. Uh, Zofra, it's not my own decal through a link. I don't have that set up yet. It's just a decal you can make in game through the normal decals. I don't have one of those at the moment. I'll also have some water before I dehydrate myself into oblivion. Yeah. What else do we have? Um, hey, Red October. Is there any news on the co-op mode that's being tested? I think it's sort of in the early stages of development. I don't think it's being released soon, although I don't really know. That's just if I were to guess about it. I'm not sure if it's sort of something it's still being developed from what I understand, so it's not something that's been scrapped. But at the same time, I don't know necessarily when or if it's going to be well added into the game in whatever form. So I'm not really sure. Yeah, I mean, Gamescom seems like a bit of a nightmare to me. I mean, I'm not really a very social person in that sense. Well, I'm a bit of a social person, but not in the sense of meeting people who know me as a person from a thing. You know, I don't really hype myself very much, so I'd probably be quite boring to meet in person. And you know, I don't really like operating within those particular parameters. Um, so I don't think I'd go, but I don't. I'm not particularly sure. We'll see. Uh, but I don't think it's super likely. But who knows? Um, what else? Hydration check. Yes, I've got my backup glass here just in case, which can sometimes help in particular ways. Um, how should I play the T-3457, and what vehicles should I put in the 47 lineup? Um, well, the T-3457 is a vehicle that doesn't need a huge amount of explanation. I think it's a vehicle that if you're sort of capable enough in the game itself, excuse me, and you know how it fundamentally works, you know where to put your vehicle, you know when to engage, you know where to point and click. The T-3457 really does do a lot of the work for you. Gun's great, great penetration, great reload, great mobility. The only real downsides are the armor and the gun depression, both of which you can negate somewhat by playing it carefully and around, well, flat ground. Um, there's not really a huge amount I think I can add apart from just the fundamentals of the game itself. A lot of it I think is down to your positioning and not putting yourself directly in the line of fire. The other aspect I think is how to aim the gun effectively because the 57 is good. You can definitely one shot with it, but at the same time, the damage radius isn't the biggest, so you may need to go for more disabling shots rather than like risking it all on the one shot, which may not work particularly in your favor consistently. So you may need to be a bit more kind of careful in how you engage enemies in that front and use the gun to either disable the enemy's breach and then go for the follow up shot to knock them out. That's probably a good thing to do if you are struggling with the gun itself. Um, but yeah, it's a tricky one to kind of summarize beyond that point. For the other vehicles, I think you can pretty safely use one of the TDs, the SU-85 or the ASU-57, both of which have their own different merits. On top of that, you can have the KV-85 as well, which works great. Um, but you need to be careful of the hull. The hull on that thing is very tedious to sort of work around. You can't really angle it because of how the turret needs to accommodate for the hull. It has rounded segments which are only I think 40 millimeters thick. So if you angle, pretty much anything can slice right through your hull. But it does work at its own BR, and if you can be a bit more defensive, get a bit more hull down, it definitely can work. So having those vehicles, having a TD works great. If you have the premium T-34, that works brilliantly as well. You can even use the ZIS 5 KV1 above the KV85 just because its armor can still work in the up tiers. It depends on what you want really from your heavy tank. It does lose a bit of versatility in the higher BRs because the gun is not quite as good, but the armor is more reliable than the 85, at least in a more aggressive standpoint. For your CAS, you've got some decent options. You've got the Yak-9T and the Yak-9K as well now with the APHE round, or the AP round. And yeah, there's a lot going for you. The SU6 as well, the premium one, very, very good. I recommend that one a lot. And the PE2s, you've got a lot of options to take out. I think for your SPA, it depends on what you ultimately want from a vehicle. I think probably the BTR or the milk truck gas, the 94 km, both work fine. Less anti-tank potential than when compared to the ZSU 37, but that vehicle is not really very good as an anti-air, and you're probably going to get much better results from the 94 km gas or the BTR. But it depends what you want. I think that's more of like a you question. But that's probably what I would go with personally. But still depends on your preference. I've missed a lot of questions probably. We'll see. Let me read all these. Christ, that's a lot of long comments there. Let me see. Oxy explain internal cheat error. I'm not sure what this particularly means. I don't recognize that as a term. Maybe you can help me out there. Saying the same thing again twice is not giving me any more context there. I'm not sure what you're really talking about. Well, Brady, I'm not sure yet. Hopefully within the next week or 2 weeks. I think it depends when I can really get into the right kind of mindset to do it. I need to be in the right mindset. Otherwise, if I do it as like, okay, I need to get a video out, it becomes a job. And if I treat it like a job, I lose. And I don't want that to happen. So I need to sort of take it a bit slower, I think, sometimes. And I think it kind of, to make the videos, to have them end up in a way that I can be kind of proud of, I guess, I need to take them slowly sometimes. So that probably does kill my channel's performance in terms of getting consistent videos out. But the videos I think are more helpful when I take them at this pace, and that's what I try to do ultimately. That's what I attempt to do. Have you gotten a nuke? Yeah, I've got a couple. I don't really play high tier that much, but I've got a couple in the B29 and more sort of the analogs. But yeah, I'll probably get some more in the future. I mean, it depends. I mean, getting a nuke to land often doesn't depend on having a really good game. You need like the perfect pairing of having a team that's not awful but not good, and you need to sort of, the slots goes into it. But I like the way the nukes work right now. I think it's a good sort of middle ground for how it works. Do you think that the Chinese tech tree will be fleshed out? Yeah, eventually. I mean, Chinese vehicles are quite difficult to get information on. I'm privy to the process and just how long it can take with some vehicles. So it is difficult, and that's why it takes so long. It's not that a case of oh, no one cares that about the minor nations. They want to focus on the bigger nations. It's the larger nations have information on their vehicles that are way more accessible and way more readily available to learn. There's no language barrier involved as well. So that's why nations such as China and Japan take a really long time to get their vehicles added, because their information is way more scarce and harder to come by, harder to access, harder to understand, harder to implement. So there are other factors at play in that kind of line of thinking, but yeah, it will get fleshed out, as will all the trees, I think, eventually, where possible. It just depends on how, I guess, easy the information is. If every single piece of information needed to make a vehicle for all the Chinese vehicles was readily available, easily accessible, it would be probably a lot more fleshed out by now. There are just their own sort of set of hurdles in the way for accessing those particular documents and that kind of thing. So it does take a longer time to implement when compared to other nations. Russia is OP. John, I don't think that's completely true. Murders Inc. I'm not sure when the BR changes will be implemented yet. Hopefully not too long. Maybe a week, 2 weeks. I really can't say. I'm not too sure. Um, have you ever played War Thunder with a controller? A couple of times, but not really to the point where I would get like sort of capable enough at using it to be able to kind of. What do I really want to say here? I think I've only used it briefly to where I guess, my experience wasn't that great, but that's because I didn't really dedicate the time to learn how it worked. So I'd probably say that I didn't have a great experience, but that's just because I haven't played it enough to be able to get sort of comfortable with it. So I'm not sure really. I think with some time it can work, especially in the simulator mode. But I haven't played it too much to really get a good opinion, I think. Um, I'm trying to read something I might have missed. Um, Let me see. I had a very long answer there, and I missed a lot of comments. Um, Christ, there's so many. Apologies for missing all of these. Um, does the ME262A1 and the Jabo really deserve to be 7.0? Spent a lot of time in that thing. It's almost all its contemporaries outperform it. Would making 6.0 help a bit? The issue with jets like that, I mean, in general, is that it's not really ultimately as useful to look at the aircraft in terms of its like sort of direct contemporaries as just because two vehicles share the same BR as 7.0, that doesn't mean in any way that those vehicles are equal. In some ways, you could say they are equal in performance, but it's not the case. It's not how BRs are intended to work. BRs work basically by saying that this vehicle can fairly engage vehicles 1 BR lower and 1 BR higher. And anything below that, so for example, if the 262 was 6.7, it would have to fight vehicles that were 5.7. And there are a lot of vehicles in that bracket that couldn't sort of engage it in a way that would be, I guess, the sort of power would be too disparate to be able to engage on that level. And I think that's why a lot of vehicles probably have that kind of disparity in that they're not as powerful at their own BR, but they're too powerful to be lower, just based on how the matchmaking itself works. So I think that's probably where it could be. I think performance-wise, it could probably be a bit lower, but when played correctly, and if you dedicate enough time to it to learn how the guns work, it can be really powerful at BR. But it does have its sets of drawbacks. I haven't really played the 262 consistently for many years, probably like 6, 7 years. So I haven't really got the best perspective on its performance right now. But yeah, I mean, I can see the perspective, but there's also a lot of things that go into putting a vehicle where it sort of eventually sits in its own sort of set of BRs. So yeah, I can see what you mean, but I don't really think I've got a great answer for that particular question. Can you add the Muse? The Muse? Nope. Maybe? I'm not sure. It's a very peculiar question. You probably mean the mouse. The mouse is in the game, but it's only available in sort of rarer interludes of maybe once a year. But I can't sort of confirm it will be available this year again, but that's generally when it's around anyway. Do you think a year era filter will be added to the matchmaking? I don't think so. It's one of those things that's a good idea in theory, but in practice it creates way too many problems. Um, there's lots of things that go into that, and it seems like it'll be good, but there are a lot of other issues that would come into it. Some vehicles would be far too strong, some would be far too weak, and it just wouldn't really be as fair to gameplay as it would seem on the surface. Some vehicles do get shafted a little bit by the current state of how everything works, but it's just not how the game can operate with this many vehicles. Maybe there are some things that can be done to ease the transition between the end of the sort of armor meta and the beginning of the sort of technology meta. Bad name, but you know what I mean. Maybe there's some things that can be done, but I don't think an era filter is necessarily the best way to go about it. Um, Actually, Mike mentioned a few streams before about the MALs we're back for research for limited time. Do you know when? We can't say. It's not unlikely it will come back, but whether it will or in what form, we can't really be the people to come here and say yes, it will happen objectively because we don't know yet. It's usually around War Thunder's birthday. The mouse comes back for research. It did last year. If it will again this year, we can't say, but it might. That's really as much as I can kind of say for that right now. But I don't think it's unlikely. But at the same time, it's difficult to say really. Um, I'll see if I can scrounge a good question from YouTube. Let's see. Not looking hopeful so far. I think it has devolved into lots of internal discussions there, and I will leave YouTube to it for a bit and then come back. A few minutes, then I'll come back. With the Panther 2 coming back, I guess it's not impossible, but also quite unlikely, because the vehicle is sort of technically impossible, I think, in some ways, to actually exist. And on that basis, it probably won't be coming back in a sort of wide form. Maybe as like a tournament reward, perhaps. I'm not sure, but it's not something that's at all likely. I think at this stage, I would say. Hi, Oxy. What subjects were your preferred ones, favorites, and why? What do you mean? Do you mean subjects in school? I'm not sure exactly what you mean with that one. I can try and help though. Well, answer, not really help, I suppose. Um, Tips on Carnarvon. Same with Descent, really. It's just don't overextend. I mean, that thing's weaknesses come into play when enemies can get an easy shot on your lower plate or your side armor. You can play aggressively and negate that with a stabilizer and get the first shot off, but it's not something I can really sit here and say is reliable because it depends on your skill set, the maps you're playing on, and the competence of your enemies. So being a bit more defensive definitely works, but you can be aggressive when you need to be because it does have the armor to be aggressive. It's just it has weak points that come out in being aggressive that you can't necessarily counter in close ranges. The lower plate is always there. If you're angling, the side armor can get sliced through quite easily, and it's really it's a vehicle that works quite well if you have a kind of base level of ability in the game. And that's not me sitting here saying that you aren't capable at the game if you're struggling with it. I think it definitely has its own matches in BR, has its own sort of setups where it doesn't work very well, and maps where it struggles. But using it consistently, I think mostly just relies on map knowledge and how you use the gun effectively, especially the Sabo, because you need to work out whether you want to go for the one shots or the disabling shots, and both of which work. But if you are struggling a bit with the rounds, disabling with the first shot can be a good way to go because the reload is quite short as long as you're not expending the ammo rack. So going for the breach, going through for the middle of the turret, middle of the hull to destroy the breach turret crew can be a good way to go about it. I think that definitely works if you are struggling a little bit. And yeah, that's probably what I would go with. But it's similar to the Centurion. It's just a bit more reliable in the hull armor really, and the mobility is better too, which does really help. What else? Are we having another Civil War in the Twitch chat? What's occurring here? Let me get the context of this cheating discussion. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I've played this game, safe to say, probably more than all of you. And at least recently in the last, I mean, I'd maybe see someone cheating once every, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I mean, I'm very good at spotting it right now. And most of the time, it's, if someone makes a really good shot, it's like, yeah, I mean, what is more likely that somebody has good luck in that moment and makes a really good shot, or that they've, have cheats enabled? And it's very, very, very unlikely that that's the case. I mean, we've back in the day caught a lot of people, doing it, not that common anymore, and when people are doing it is quite obvious. It comes into gameplay very, very infrequently, and because I used to spend a lot of time looking for cheaters, because I mean I hate cheats and sort of in many respects, it became very easy to sort of work out exactly who was doing it. And so I think my radar for that kind of thing is pretty good, and it's very, very rare that I see anyone now. So yeah, it might be easy in the moment to think that someone against you is cheating if they've landed a lucky shot on you, but in the same way of you know justifying, I don't know, aliens, it's in the sense that what's more likely? You saw something in the air that was a bit weird, maybe something experimental, maybe it was glinting off a deflating balloon in the sort of horizon, glinting in the sun, or is it a craft from another species just existing in the entire time, well, the tiny time frame that you were outside and looking at the sky? What is more likely? Because I think we often sort of try to come to the conclusion that seems the most suitable for our worldview, and especially for aliens and stuff. It's one of those things that it makes the world seem more interesting, so you're more open to the idea of perceiving it. In the sort of analog with that, with looking at cheating, you want it to be the case because it justifies why you're losing, and it's generally not the case at all. And I think getting over that kind of mindset is such a good way to have a better time with this game, because it's self improvement as well. If your answer to getting beaten in a game is that the other person was being unfair, what is it? What's the It's called the narcissist's prayer. There's a really good one. It's like oh Christ, what is it? It's a really good one for games. It's like let me find it on my phone because I've forgotten it, and it's a really good way of kind of analyzing this kind of thing. Bear with me a second. It's not actually the narcissist's prayer. It comes down. It's like a parody of um of the whole thing. Now I'm too far away from the router to use the internet, so this might be a bit slow. But it's a good way of looking at it. So yes, it's yeah, here it is. So it was renamed to the Scrub Lord's Prayer, and it starts as, "My controls weren't working, and if they were, you were playing dishonorably, and if they weren't, you were playing without skill, and if you were, it's no fun to play that way, and if it is, you only care about winning, therefore you lose." And it's just a way that people will intensely try and justify why they've lost at something to the point where they lose all sense of perspective. And I think I don't mean to kind of say this here as to kind of passively be unkind to you if you can see yourself empathizing with some of those particular lines there. But as soon as you can kind of get over that hump, I guess, of trying to lie to yourself and justify why you are losing, whether it be it cheaters or the game being broken in some way or your controls not working or whatever. It's You have such a better time when you completely rip that mindset out of your play, because it breeds negativity in how you perceive the game, and it gets to a point where you can be having a great time in the game. You can die once, and you'll get really angry. You'll hate the game, whatever, and it'll just it spirals, and it's not a good way to play. And I think having that in the ability to be that self-aware about everything is such a strong personality trait. And if you get to that stage, man, you'll never stop enjoying this game. And it's yeah, so maybe a bit pretentious, but with all that, but it's something that I think is good to keep in mind, and just for yourself and for the game, it really helps, I think. Um, anyway, again, I've missed a lot of comments. Um, let's see. How does it feel when the three lions loose the EM? I don't know what this means. That's a very. Uh, I have no idea what that is. Please let me know. I can try. Um, hey, Human Husk. What do you mean? Tanks, planes? I can try and help. Definitely. Um, let me see. I guess it really does depend on what game mode you're playing there, I think. But I can try. Um, what else do we have? Is Yugoslavia going to be added? No idea. Maybe. I mean, they have some interesting vehicles, but I don't know. I cannot say. Maybe at one point. Maybe not in maybe not at all. I really don't know. Um, European Championship. Oh yeah. I mean, I do not care about football at all. I didn't even watch it. I just I cannot make myself or bring myself to care about it whatsoever. So know, doesn't it can't really bother me that much. Yeah, don't have much to say about that one. Um, Three Lions, the English national. I thought it was Four Lions, although maybe I'm thinking of that film. I think I am thinking about that film. I've always thought it was four, so now I've learned something brilliant. Um, let's see. Will realistic enduring commentation ever come back? I don't know. Maybe. It's an event that sort of has its faults in its current standing. Um, but yeah, maybe I really can't say. I'm not sure at all. Um, see if I can get some more questions here. Hello from Australia, Melbourne. Hello from Germany. Hope you're having a nice time. Hope it's not too hot. I mean, from what I know from my Australian friends, it's unbearably warm over in Australia. Generally speaking, I don't know if it is right now. But Christ, man, I couldn't exist outside in Australia. I'd just melt. I just I don't know what I have some kind of circulation problem where I don't regulate heat properly, so I get very very warm very quickly and I'll just pass out in the heat. So I don't even know if I could go to Australia unless I drank liters of water every hour, which would be terrible. Um, tanks. Okay. It depends a bit on your setup. Having a sort of sharp screen definitely helps, but I think it's good to not rely on hardware to get an advantage like that. Maybe not advantage in the sense that you know, well, advantage is not the right word, but a lot of it is um well, how's a good way of putting it? The law of vacant places can denote sort of where you can work out where enemies are. That's a good way of starting on some maps. If you play a map long enough, you can work out where the most likely places for enemies to be are. You need to be very active in thinking about it, but it can sort of help you know where to give extra attention. Because there's some areas when I play maps where I do not even look for, like if there's a corner of a road, I won't even look there because I know the chance of an enemy being there is so low that I will waste time uh, checking that it's clear. So I think a lot of it is down to streamlining the locations where you will even look to see enemies. So that's a good start to have. But I think as well, it's recognizing shapes and movement because tanks generally have a lot of very recognizable shapes. They're very sort of square. They have angular lines that don't appear in nature. And if you're consistently looking for that, like our brains are good at sort of finding patterns like that. If you look for straight lines and shapes in bushes and trees and ridge lines, you can instantly see stuff. And if you kind of train your mind to, it sounds very pretentious, I apologize, but if you can train your mind to kind of see that kind of thing and really focus on it, you will notice stuff way quicker. If you can, like, for top tier as well, if you can look for machine guns on the top of the roofs of tanks, the circles of headlights and that kind of thing, things will start sticking out to you. But that does come down to a lot of just time spent in the game in general. And it does take a while to get to that point. But yeah, it's something that I think with practice becomes a lot easier in general. But quick fixes to kind of instantly become better at it are a little bit difficult. Now, I'm trying to think of what I can recommend because obviously I'm sort of I guess lucky in that I've been playing a lot, so it's second nature to me. I can spot stuff really quickly. But another thing is movement as well. It's always scanning. Like, if I were to play the game with one of those eye trackers on, you'd probably see my eyes looking all over the screen constantly because it's like focusing vision in certain parts where I can see movement the best. Like, I never really look just at my tank most of the time. It's always looking at different areas and making sure I can see threats before they are directly able to counter me. And so, looking at a sort of area of the map, or sort of not the map as you're looking at the mini map, but the actual game field itself, that lets you cover the most view range with your eyes, um, well, sort of in the most condensed area. And what I mean by that, to try and streamline it a bit, is that if you can look at an area maybe over the longer ranges that lets you, oh Christ, this is such an annoying thing to describe. Um, Basically, say if you're looking at a corner of a street, you're looking at just that corner, so you can only spot enemies in that corner of the street. But if you look down a street that has maybe 3, 4 different access routes into the street itself, then you are passively covering more areas with your eyes that enemies could appear from. And so trying to maximize your ability to look at those areas at the same time is really helpful for catching multiple threats. And that definitely helps. Obviously, it's map dependent, but that is something that it's difficult to kind of inject into your gameplay because it takes a lot of practice with the maps to kind of learn those particular routings. But it definitely does help. So I think a lot of it is pattern recognition in terms of knowing what enemy tanks, well, what tanks in general look like. I sort of go out of my way a lot to look about to look at kind of tank recognition. It's something that I am quite I like looking at. I'm quite good at tank recognition. It's something that I studied quite a little bit, sort of privately. I have a product lined up for tank recognition in the future. It will take a long time to make, but maybe there'll be something I can do for that in the future, which I'm quite excited for, but it may take a very long time to actually come to fruition. But yeah, that's definitely a factor. And then it's just sort of knowing where to look on maps. Like, say if you notice, if you watch streamers that play the game a lot, and you watch them play the same vehicles on different maps or whatever, on the same maps, I suppose, you'll notice that players will just ignore completely different areas because it's so unlikely that an enemy is there that there's no point wasting time being pensive about, well, not pensive, but being apprehensive about an enemy being there. And so you will see like these good players a lot will get very angry when they get shot from those areas because they're so not used to an enemy being there that they feel like they could have done nothing to counter it. And that's again something that you will see a lot from very competent players. But it does streamline and speed up your ability to spot stuff. I think those aspects are very important for spotting stuff in general. But yeah, it's difficult to give a kind of short road answer to that because I think a lot of it does just take I guess time to learn and just get used to it. But yeah, tank recognition is something that definitely helps. And if I need to stop talking about this question now because I will just go around in circles explaining the same point in slightly different ways. If there are any other questions you have around the basis of tank recognition, I can try and help. But I'm just going to stop this question here because I will just go around in circles and it'll be annoying and difficult to kind of get what I'm trying to say. Because my brain is not very useful like that. I have synesthesia, by the way. It means that, well, it means many things, but it means that my kind of process of explaining something, at least in this way, it's like a roundabout with branching paths that stay on the same road. It's really difficult to explain. But it means I will, if I have a lot of things to say about one topic, I will just not stop talking about it and get myself into a loop, which is very annoying. So I will stop that here. But yes. Happy Boar's Day. I hope you are not too old. I'm sure you're not. How does it feel being 22, my boy? I would wink then, but I would not want to do that because it would end up in a compilation or something. You best be taking the day off and looking after yourself. Treat yourself today, boy, or there'll be repercussions. Man, is it my birthday soon? No, it isn't. Is it? No, can't be. I don't know. I don't pay attention. But yes, we have a lovely day, my dude. Can we get some birthdays for this boy, this young man's? Now I will now risk the YouTube chat. What have we got here? What do we got? Lot of talks about India going on here. I don't know if India is likely to come to the game as a nation. Probably not. I would say it's one of the more unlikely nations, but I don't know. It's not really. Again, like I can't really. This isn't exactly the area or the space for me to reveal any upcoming content. I can't do that here, and I sort of won't do that here. But yeah, I can't say ultimately. I'm celebrating and relaxing by moving house. Very cool, dude. Moving house is one of the worst things ever. I hate doing that. Hopefully, won't have to do it again soon. Well, actually, I might have to do it again soon. Hmm. We'll see. Terrible. Um, can't even read what these words are meant to say. Yes, you better be relaxing with a drink afterwards, because otherwise I'll be upset. I'll be upset by proxy, which is a bad thing to do. But nevertheless, you best be looking after yourself, dude. Will the next event overlap the next battle pass? Maybe there'll be some overlap with some events, but I can't really I cannot really comment on such things. You still need me to fix your vacuum? I can try. I mean, I can't do it physically. I don't know where you live, but don't tell me, by the way. I can sort of try and help by sort of but in a disconnected way. If you need some parts replaced, I have fixed some vacuums in my time. I can certainly try. I spent my birthday last week doing a 20-hour shift at work. Hell yeah, dude. At least it's one of those things that I think if you work really hard on your birthday, you feel like more accomplished, and that in itself is its own reward. That's sound like a very pretentious Buddha, sort of a very pretentious Buddha thing to say, but yeah. Sorry you didn't have a nicer birthday. Hopefully you were able to relax the day after. That would be much nicer. Did you find out what kind of frog it was? Not yet. I'm still not sure on the frog front. Maybe in the future. Maybe in the future. Um, okay. I'm just Man, I love YouTube chat. I wish sometimes I could screenshot it and frame it, put it on my wall. I'm trying to find something. Pay to win game, change Russian tank BR. This is not a comment I can do anything with, and I don't really. There's simultaneously a lot to dissect there and nothing of any value. If you want to ask the question in a different way, like if there's any vehicles you think should be changed or what aspects you think are pay to win, please tell me. I can try and answer that question. But with those particular terms together, there's nothing I can really say to that, I'm afraid. No, I don't want to ignore it though. I can appreciate, it's something that I think people feel is chucked under the rug a bit, but I can do my best to answer your question there. When will BR changes coming? Maybe the next few weeks, week. I'm not sure. Probably not too long though. We'll have to see. Gathering feedback, ascertaining the correct way forward, that kind of thing. I hope frog eat table. Okay. Yep. So I can't even respond to that. I think my response is yes, but I don't know. Ultimately, we'll have to see. Maybe there'll be a follow up. Hi, how are you? I am doing great. I hope you are doing great too, or better than great. So, um, Kyle, I'm quite a strange person like that. I like mundane things. Um, and I think I like remembering mundane things because they're the sort of things in life that you forget a lot. And it's like I don't know. I don't know. It sounds very pretentious, but I like the value in sort of stuff that you is forgettable. Like a while ago, this is going to sound so stupid, but about I think 7 months ago, so no, it's longer than that actually. I think it was on the 2nd of February. I saw someone drop an ice cream on the street, and a week later, all evidence of that ice cream was gone that was dropped on the street. But like that had an effect on someone. There's no stain anymore. It's all gone. All the evidence is gone. Maybe it made someone upset in that time. Maybe it did something. And like all that time later, I may be one of the only people in the world that remember that tiny thing happening. And I don't know, it's things like that that just really make me feel like I exist, you know? Maybe that's a really weird, abstract thing to say on a sort of talk showy podcast thing about War Thunder. I don't know. I like stuff like that. I just like remembering the tiny things that happened once because they just burn out of your memory otherwise. And don't know. I like that. I like those sorts of things. So I like remembering moments and that kind of thing. It's all nice to me. I don't know. It's something I appreciate. Ice cream BR upgrade when? Well, when it gets its additional package of sprinkles. I haven't had Christ ice cream for a very very long time. Very long time. A miserable sexless existence. I don't know why I added sexless there. I didn't need to do that, but I did. Nevertheless. Um, do you actually play naval? Yeah, I don't play it too much now because I've spaded everything apart from some battleships. I really like naval. I like destroyer gameplay. I like 2.0 to 3.3 coastal ships quite a lot, and I like those to play those quite a bit. I think that they have a lot of good moments in gameplay to have. I like it. I appreciate that naval is not really for everyone at all, but I really like it. I like it. I mean, there are some areas I don't like. I think obviously could have some well, maybe a bit more direction or something, but I like it. I like certain areas of the game, and I think to enjoy this game to its maximum potential, you need to put yourself in areas of the game you enjoy the most. And I can definitely do that with naval while ignoring some of the other areas I don't like as much. But you know, there's there's always room for improvement, and I think it's going to get into a state where it's way better in the future. Just as all things are. I mean, it's still early as a game mode. I mean, tanks came out what 7 years ago, roughly. So no, a bit less, 6 years ago, I guess. You know, and it's had a lot of time to develop from then. And I think you know, in the future, it's going to be better. Um, what else did I miss? Yeah, Mike, it's a good. I like that line of thinking actually. It makes I think it eases people with when people pass on as well. You can sort of keep them alive in that sense. You know, in the theory of people dying twice. So I like that. It's always been quite quaint. Yeah, Kyle. I mean, I don't know. I like talking about different stuff sometimes, but obviously more so War Thunder. But you know, we can have little elements of other stuff here and there in some ways. Um, um, Vatican tech tree when? Yeah, man. Ah, Spruce, I miss you, dude. Not that we ever really engaged much, but I remember your name more than I've seen recently. So hope you're doing well. Hope you're still playing. Um, Tiger H1 versus Tiger E. Tiger E better, but at BR, Tiger H1 good too, is my predictive text answer to that question. I don't really know how to compare them or what you're ultimately asking. Do you mean like, is it worth getting the E after the H? Let me know. Um, we'll see. Holy hand grenades. Does this mean something that I'm missing? I'm not sure. How do you think player numbers dropping a lot? Um, Not really a sentence, but they're not dropping. They're less than they are a bit before because there's no sort of wide events running, but they're not dropping at all. So yeah, that's not really a comment with much I can really add to. Um, are you planning on streaming with the devs anytime soon? It's difficult right now, just because of Corona and stuff. We're all not really in the office properly right now, so it's quite difficult. But maybe in the future, all I can really give is you know, a maybe right now, as it is quite difficult to really say. But we'll yeah, we'll see. It's excuse me, definitely a possibility. Have you got a green screen mug? Depressingly, it's yellow. I need to find like if I put my hand here in the reflection, you can kind of see the yellow. If I angle a little bit that way, yeah. So it is yellow. The green screen is exactly green. But yeah, it's not ideal, as some people may say. Um, Ghost mug, yes. Man, I like ghosts. Ghosts are cool. Are you a dev? I'm not a dev, but I do lots of things for Gaijin. Um, it always takes too long to list them, but there's lots of stuff I can do, which is always fun. I like having lots of things to do because it means that I can switch up my tasks a lot, which means I'm never bored, which is very, very good for a certain, well, for work in general, I suppose. Um, I just learned I'm not allowed to use the non-offensive F word in chat. What's the non-offensive F word? Because I suppose there are many non-offensive words that begin with F, but there are some that I don't know. I don't know what you mean. Did I miss something? Maybe I did. Um, hey, good morning, Oxy. What's your favorite tier one plane for RB? By Darkened Spell there. Um, hmm. I don't know. I don't play low tier that much. Unless I'm I guess recording for a video or getting some footage. I like the 109E1. No, is that tier two now? I can't remember. I think that might be tier two. I'm not sure. The E1's really good. It's better than the E3, even though it's lower BR. That one's fun. CW21, obviously, embarrassingly effective. There's no use dying in that thing at all. Chaika can be fun as well. It's a sort of super fragile, kind of high risk plane, which I find quite like. Um, hmm, what else is there that I like? I can't. It's difficult because I can't remember what stuff's rank one. Um, hmm. Is the Hurricane Mark One late tier one? Was that moved to tier two? I can't remember. That one again is very fun. I like those. But yeah, I don't play them. I don't play them too much. The Key 27 as well is quite good. Is that the right one? I think so. Yeah, that thing is crazy powerful. I like that one a lot. Um, Chaika's Therapy. Yeah, yeah. It's a very fun it's a very fun one. I like it a lot. Will you add clip option to your streams? You can clip on Twitch. I don't think it's possible on YouTube. For me, C200, yeah, C200 is pretty fun. It's underrated, I think. Like decently fast, really agile. It's definitely a fun one. I don't see it played that much. But yeah, I like it. It's I like the Italian early stuff. Early Italian aircraft design was really really fun, and they made some really gorgeous planes. Gorgeous planes. Um, is there something in the works to make the German or the late German air tree less meh? I'm not sure what you mean explicitly, but if you mean more vehicles to fill gaps, then probably yeah, down the line. I can't say as to when and what the nature of anything like that would be, but there's going to be things occurring always, lots to look forward to. So yeah, have some patience. There'll be things. There'll be interesting things coming. Absolutely. Hey Oxy, how are you doing this fine day? I am doing just great. I hope you are as well. Having a very nice time. Um, Key 10 is still fun. Yeah, I like the Key 10. It's very very fast and has good energy retention. So it's quite good to use like that. I think it's fun. Even in up tiers, it's good. Well, every game's an up tier when you're rank one, well tier one, but well 1.0. Got it wrong twice. So I still like it for that. It's a really nice plane. Um, my mouse fills any hole. When I did that, someone should zoom in on my face and play the Hawaii 5-0 theme. That's I don't know why, but that's it played in my head when I did that. I don't know why. Um, but we'll see. Christ, what is this? Work message? Um, no, it's all fine. Can you do a giveaway for 12 GE? Um, yes, but no. No. In the sense that it's possible, but probably not something I can or will do, I'm afraid. What else do we have? Japan needs better AA? Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of options I think they have for low tier stuff, but it's not. I don't think the vehicles ever really existed. They were more so kind of projections. But yeah, it'd be nice for Japan to get some better stuff, even the higher tiers. I mean, it's not impossible, I think. Um, yeah, I agree. It's difficult to find information on those particular vehicles, but hopefully in the future we'll see more. Because I agree, it'd be very very nice to get some new anti-air because they are vehicles that need a little bit more. I don't know, need some more love. I think SPA. I want to see some more premium SPA as well. Some more interesting ones. Talk War Thunder to me anytime, Bella, anytime. Um, why was the ability to get excuse me, G waders removed? I don't know. Have they been removed? I'm not sure. I want to say I still get them, but very, very rarely. I have no idea. Maybe people didn't use them very much, or they were just using other ones. I really don't know. I can't answer that, I'm afraid. I wish I had more information, but I sadly do not. Sadly, do not. Um, I'm looking at the Key 95 in the Warborn shop, and it doesn't seem to have bombs or good penetrating guns. What's it good at? Very good climb rate. Not a huge amount else. I think it's quite an underwhelming aircraft for a premium. It's decently maneuverable for what it is. It's quite agile, but it will run out of ammo on the guns quite quickly. It's very, very fragile as well. It has the kind of key 201, 102 syndrome. I think it's the key to 102, I think so. It catches fire very, 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 very quickly. And it's very kind of fragile to any kind of damage. So it's not the easiest to play. I don't think it's the best pick for a premium, although it is very, very quick. And if played right, there's a lot you can do with it. But I think the effort required to make it work doesn't justify its peak potential as a vehicle. Because it does take, you need to approach it in a particular way. Um, so yeah, I think I probably wouldn't go for it if there are other options you're considering, but at the same time, it does work as a vehicle. But it is just a bit difficult. It doesn't have the ability to go after ground targets, so it does have limited ability there. Like even late game, you can't knock out pillboxes that easily or medium tanks, so your RP potential is a little bit more limited. Um, but yeah, it does have some advantages, but it's not ultimately incredible. Like recently, I went through all of my premiums because I have a lot of premiums I've never really used that much. So I went through to get the Mark of Distinction on all of them, and I played the key quite recently, and I had some pretty good games with it, like some 3-5 kill games. But it wasn't. I felt like I could have done more in another vehicle around the same BR for Japan. So it does have its merits, but it's limited in some ways. So yeah, I think there's probably better choices, but at the same time, if you're considering maybe other vehicles as well, then I think there are better options. I think I would probably say. What else? I've played War Thunder for like almost 8 years. Really great game, and I do love it so much. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear you enjoy it. That's the most important thing. If you enjoy the game, that's sort of the goal ultimately. So I'm very happy to hear. Um, um, I can't even read what this one says. Is that English or is my brain breaking? Maybe both. Frog? Yes, frog. Um, I'm always a fan of hearing that particular word. I have a shirt. I have two frog shirts now. One of them just says MILF on it, and it says "Man, I love frogs." Which, if that ain't me, although it is sort of a bit disconcerting because from a distance it looks like your shirt is just saying that you are a MILF, which is not particularly the case. So a bit bit disconcerting at range, but you get closer, frogs, which I'm a fan of. Bring that shirt next stream. You won't. I may. The difficulty is that it's green, so it'll key out on the green screen, so it doesn't really work on streams. But I'll see. I will see. Um, M51 should be added to the game. The Super Sherman, maybe in the future, in some way. It's a cool vehicle, and I love Sherman, so I'll always be up for hearing hearing more variants, of course. What else do we have? Very nice hair. Don't lie to me. I know it's awful. Unless if you are actually being sincere, in which case, thank you. That's very sweet. But if not, I know there's there's work to be done as always. Um, just want to say, been playing this game since day one and have fun. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of areas of this game that I think are consistently fun. And I think a lot of it sort of comes from engaging with the areas of the game that you enjoy the most. And I think a lot of people get caught up on that. If there are some areas that you force yourself to play for some reason that you don't enjoy, excuse me, excuse me twice, you won't really get much enjoyment out of it because it'll become like a job. And yeah, I think I am sort of lucky in that I like ships, tanks, planes, low tier, high tier, mid tier, maybe not high tier, but sort of the higher tiers, mid tier, and everything. So if one area of the game is like not really doing it for me, I can just jump to something else and still have a good time. And, you know, I think being able to be able to enjoy those aspects of the game, it lets you you beat the game effectively. If you can enjoy every aspect of it, then you know you beat it. You beat it. You can do whatever you like. You'll never run out of things to do. You know, and it's just I think that's the way this game should be played. Is finding enjoyment in all areas because from when you get to that stage, you can just don't know you can do whatever you like, and it's why I can play this game every day and not get bored. And it's yeah, that's how I try and approach it anyway. You might bring a lot of entertainment to it. I'm not really that entertaining. I think I don't know. There's a really good word I think to describe it, but I can't remember what the word was. Because I'm not really conventionally entertaining. I'm just sort of. There was Christ, what was the word? Really good word. I'll see if it can come to me, but I don't know. There's a better way of putting it. I think we'll see. Striker, I have answered this I think 5 times this stream. I don't know. Maybe within a week, maybe within 2 weeks. I'm not sure. There's no sort of definite date yet. I really don't know. I'm afraid. Um, so when I play enough tiers at tiers I don't enjoy, I will get hired by Gaijin. It'll become my job. Not at all, sadly. If only if it were the case. Sadly, not the case. Um, Now, there's no giveaways on these ones. These are just sort of quite short streams. Um, there will be giveaways on the Thursday stream though, so please come by for that. Maybe you can win a thing. That'd be very nice. Um, yeah, no worries. Don't need to apologize or anything, Striker. It's just it's one of those things, you know. If you appear at one point, there's not really any way to know if it's been answered. So you know, no worries. It's just something that I probably didn't look at and didn't respond to quickly because I'd already said it a lot. But yeah, no worries. If you have any other questions, let me know. I can do my best to assist. Hi, Wolf Thunder. M46 armor block heat. Some of it does from certain distances, but heat can still get through. But the heat that does get through the wire fences will do less damage because there's less energy from the blast to go into the turret itself. So yeah, it can still get through on some heats, but it's not as powerful even if it does. So it does have a tangible impact, but not a huge impact, I think. Do you play a musical instrument? I play a bit of the piano, but I haven't really been able to do it for years. I did really enjoy it though. I want to learn the harp. I want to learn the harp one day. I really like the harp. I've always liked it. It's just I don't know something about the kind of complexity in it, and I don't know just the sound of it. I just really like. I've always wanted to learn it. Except harps are like 4 grand, and I have a tiny flat in the UK, so I probably wouldn't be able to have one. But maybe at some point. Um, I'll be able to learn it, but maybe that can be a goal in the future. Don't know. I like it. Plus, I can't really play the piano too well because I have really small hands. Um, I don't know how how I can really measure them or show you what I mean, but I have weirdly small hands, and I can't actually have a well. I can't reach a whole piano scale, so I can never play. There's like an ultimate cap on my performance with it because I can't actually make the scales I need to make. So yeah, it's difficult. So I think I'd like to do something else. We'll see. Thank you for the question, though. It's a very sweet question. Um, how do you play the later Russian heavies? Which ones, mate? It kind of depends on the type specifically. They do share some gameplay similarities, but I'd rather be uh, sort of as helpful as I can be relative to the particular vehicle. But yeah, let me know. So the thing is, I think Donald just has small hands relative to his overall kind of um, size and rotundness. I'm not really that. I'm quite small anyway, so my hands sort of don't even scale. I can't really show you, but um, yeah, they're just quite small, and I can't even like reaching across the keyboard is annoying. Um, let's start with the IS-3 and IS-4. One thing I'll always say for those tanks is to maintain a distance between you and your enemy. Sorry, rotundness. I just learned the new word. Rotund is one of my favorite words. I'm glad. Add it to your vernacular. It's brilliant. Um, but yeah, so the most important thing is countering the reload because if you are in close range, you get caught on reload. Most enemies will be able to fire 4 to 5, well, 3 to 4 times within your reload cycle, which will get you killed a lot because in that time they can knock you out, knock out your track, knock out your barrel, and ultimately sort of outmaneuver you and shoot you in the side if they can't get through your front plate. So maintaining some distance between you and your enemy is really difficult because it means that if you do take a shot or miss and need to repair, there's not enough time for the enemy to rush you in that time. So maintaining a bit of distance is really important for those tanks. They're not great at being brawlers. They don't have the best reactive mobility in terms of their actual hull agility, and their turret traverses, IS-4 especially, is very, very slow. So you will struggle a little bit in that respect by playing them aggressively. It doesn't really work that well. The IS-4's gun as well is quite bouncy. So being aggressive doesn't quite work. Keeping them hull down is definitely a good way to play. Hull down at range, a very good way to go about it. But it depends on the map, and I think ultimately with those sorts of vehicles, the maps are your maps and BRs are your biggest enemy, which is difficult because maps and BRs are the only thing you can't really have a direct impact on. I explain it a lot in different streams, but it's like rolling a dice. You have no, you have some ability to construct the result based on how you throw it. If you're, very, very capable of, the science behind it, etc. But your ability to get into the match you want is difficult. So having a lineup around those vehicles is the most important thing. Like having a 7 lineup, having a 7-7 lineup, those are the things that make those vehicles get viability. Because if you get into a vehicle where the BR means your arm is going to get sliced through, if you're on a map that is too hilly, there's not a lot of power areas in the map that can work with poor gun depression, you might as well be using another vehicle. And in those situations, it's good to have those lineups because you can play something like the T-54s, ZSU 57-2, the BMP-1, etc., and that would be able to really well, it gives you more ability because forcing yourself to play those vehicles on maps and BRs where they don't work to their abilities is not really the best. So those sorts of things are important. Keeping yourself a bit of distance between the enemy, playing them on maps you can play to their strengths, and as well keeping the hull hidden is another important thing if you can find a spot to do that. Because the turrets of those vehicles are way more reliable, the IS-4 especially. As even if you get shot with a dart or heat into the turret, it's not really going to one-shot. And those are kind of important factors to play in. And I think they are vehicles that don't really work as traditional heavy tanks because of the reload. You can't be aggressive because you don't have the ability to be consistently reliable. If you make a mistake and you're at close range and your enemy can still fire back at you, you're pretty much stuffed. Although you can pop the smoke and reverse into it and use that as a sort of getaway, but it's not reliable. So I think playing them a bit more, probably my how I would kind of go about it. I think um, that's a fun question. What would be the ideal vehicle for a zombie apocalypse? Maybe something like the M3, no, the M2 actually, the 1.3 American tank, because it has machine guns that cover all around it, and at the same time, it's got a huge amount of ammunition inside. It's like 20,000 rounds or something, and it's got like 102 rounds for the gun. So a vehicle like that could be quite fun. Plus, you've got a lot. There's like five or six crew members inside of it, so you've got you've got some company, which is nice. Don't want to be losing your mind as well. So that could be quite fun. Yeah, they are more limited than the German and American heavies. The reload, mobility, and armor sort of trifecta help those vehicles work a lot better. They do have their own sets of disadvantages, but the Russian ones definitely suffer a lot from the reload, and that is definitely their main limiting factor. So yeah, if you can kind of mitigate those drawbacks, you can definitely have a good time. You can definitely have a good time. Um, will Britain get the Washington Mark One? Probably not, but I don't know. It's a nice vehicle. I mean, that's some good camouflages for it. But yeah, I don't know. I can't say really. I think it's probably unlikely though. Important? Not really. Okay. What else do we have? Oh yes, Summer Sale just ended, so no particular sales upcoming right now, I'm afraid. Um, will the US get the M1A1 HA? No idea. Maybe. There's probably more room for there to be, excuse me, more Abrams added to the game, but I think, well, I can't really say as to if and when that will happen. I'm afraid. Maybe in the future. It's certainly not impossible, but we'll see. Um, um, Again, I can't even. I think my brain's breaking. Some of these questions I can't read them, but or maybe they aren't even in English. um, will Britain never get anything that fires APHE rounds instead of just solid shot? Maybe there's some they can have, but there's very few they could get that would or that can fire it. I think one of my favorite vehicles that's not in the game that could be is the Churchill Mark IV. I think with the cast turret that used it was like a field modification of that used the Sherman, the gun from the early Sherman, the 75, the M3, I think, and that could fire APHE. I love the Churchills. I love that gun, and combining those two would make a vehicle that's really, really nice. So maybe something like that. I'd really like that vehicle to come into the game. Don't know if it ever will. But yeah, that would be nice. Just got back from Skeggy. Good to be back. Good to be back for you. Yes. I was going to say something else. My brain broke. It is good that you're back, I think is what I wanted to say. Hope you've had a nice time. Yeah, the British have some good heavies. The early Churchill Matilda, they're nice. I mean, they do suffer a little bit at some of the higher BRs, but they can work really, really well. I like them. I like vehicles like that anyway, because they can be kind of underdog vehicles in the higher tiers, and yeah, they're fun to kind of play around with. Absolutely. Are we ever going to get an official War Thunder Discord? Not sure, actually. Maybe not. Maybe. I have no idea whatsoever. Um, it would be cool if the Daimler and Tetrarch could have a modification for the Little John. Yeah, it could be. Um, it would be interesting to see how that would work. Maybe there's some that could have it, like like those modifications like the VFW has that raises the sides, um, but decreases the reload. Maybe that could be an option. Yeah, that could be fun. It'd be interesting to see how those vehicles will work. Well, it may increase their BR passively. Maybe there has to be different variants or something. We'll see. Hey Oxy, are there any possibilities to get more things to use our snegs here on Twitch? Yes, there will be some more, hopefully in the future. I have some ideas. Maybe they'll come next week. We will see. But there'll be more stuff to spend it on, don't worry. Um, will top tier prize of Battle Pass will ever be something other than a tank. Not sure. Maybe. I think it's just a tank because most people play tanks, and therefore, the most people can get the most value out of it. But I'm not really sure. Maybe I'm not really sure what the current plans are for the future, but it's not impossible. Yeah, there's no weird questions on this stream. If you want to ask me any weird questions, now's your time because we have half an hour left, and this is usually the point where the weird questions begin. So if you want to ask me anything, go for it. I'll answer basically anything. Well, basically anything. Obviously, there are some limits, but whatever you like, go for it. Is there any chance that Czech tanks will be added? Not sure. Maybe in the future. Maybe in the future. I'm not sure what the current plan for new stuff like that is, but it's certainly a possibility. But, well, at the same time, the possibility may be small. I don't know. I have really no idea for new stuff, I'm afraid. Hmm. What's your favorite kind of frog? The ones that scream. What are they called? Budget's frog? Budget's frog? I like those a lot. They're, don't know, they're lovely. You just poke them and they just go, "Ah," and I think that is something we can all sort of aspire to have the confidence to utilize in our daily life. And I think frogs, on that basis, are they have a lot of bravery to do something like that. And yeah, I respect them for it. What do you think about now? That is about 6 out of 10 on the racism scale. I can't answer that question, I'm afraid. But a good segue to a question. There was some effort going in there. I don't think I want to say that word out loud because it could mean multiple things. So that's going to be another one I'm going to ignore for the time being. Maybe I'll work that out in my head. Oh man. Man, there's some people deep in the I was going to say deep in the closet, but the connotations to that mean something else than what my intention was going to be. So maybe not that particular answer. But there are people with some ideas on YouTube right now. Let's go. What's worse to see around the corner, FV 4005 or Mouse? It would depend on many particulars. Probably the FV because it doesn't need to aim to knock you out. But if it's on reload, then you can knock it out with anything. Difficult. I'm not sure. It's a question that's hard to answer in a black and white way without more information. I'd probably say the FV is worse. I would say that'd be where I would go anyway. Some people really do be lost in the source. Oh yes, lost in the source. Is this a question about testicles? I'm afraid I'm not really well versed in answering such a question. Do what makes you happy for that question. I think I do not have an ability to have much agency in that particular conversation. What's the best way about grinding helicopters? Not sure. EC works if you have a premium. I think it's a vehicle. Well, it's a mode that you will struggle with if you don't. I think, in complete honesty, you can sort of have some passive progress playing them in a Tank Assault. It's quite relaxing to play like that because you can, well, you can put a movie on and just play it like that. I quite like that. But I think, yeah, it's difficult. I don't really have a great answer because right now they are quite slow to progress. I think ultimately it's probably best to wait if you don't have a premium to play EC with when the Heli PV mode actually does come out. I don't know when that will be. But yeah, I don't really have a great answer because there's no kind of fast track, I guess, to progress on the helicopter front. So we'll see. Maybe yeah, I think it's probably best waiting for that mode to come out because I think it'll be quite fun. I have really high hopes for it, actually. What does this mean? What does this mean? Can you please answer this? I asked 5 times. Will there be a new country in War Thunder? I can't answer those questions. I'm afraid. Nothing like that I can answer. This is not really a place where I can reveal information that is otherwise not released by other official means. So it's not something I can sort of answer in that way, I suppose. Hello, Duck. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Oh, getting cold. Getting cold. Nearing the end, that's how I know. Are you a dog person or a cat person? You have to choose. I'm not sure. I don't like answering such black and white questions. I'm a very grey person. So I'm not sure. They both had their advantages. I don't know. I've never had my own pup or cat myself, so I'm not really sure I have enough ability to kind of make an informed decision on that. I don't know why I'm approaching that question like it's like I'm presenting it in front of a select committee, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I said you have to choose. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I've never had one. I can't really work out if I'm a dog or a cat person because I've never had either. I've been around dogs and cats, and they're both very lovely. But I don't know. I think I need to have more experience in that field before I can sort of give a response there. Um, Not bad, my friend. At my desk with a coffee, working from home today. Very nice. Hope it's been a nice, relaxing day for you. I think I need to walk home in a minute, and I think I don't know if the weather's okay because the window's closed. Well, the massive blackout curtain's closed, so I'm not really sure what it's like right now. Tunis, that's a good one, but yes, it's a reference to a Joanna Newsom song. They're not really my favourite fruits. I need to change my name actually. I don't know what to change it to. I usually like picking something weird and vague, but we'll see. Maybe. I've got some ideas, but they will, well, got an idea that, no, I can't. We'll see. We'll see. Um, I'm actually having tea right now, lol. What are the chances in that? I hope you're enjoying your tea. I hope it's to your liking. It's always nice to have a warm beverage. It's sort of like a liquid hug tea, because it's quite warm. It can help stave off the loneliness for a while. I don't mean to say that, and well, mean that in a depressing way. It's just sort of how I see the perception of it. Um, what is this question? That was a weird warbling noise I made as well. You should grow a moustache. I can't really do that. It doesn't work with me. But at the same time, I don't think I'd be really keen on it. I don't think I'd suit one anyway. It's not really indicative of my personality, and at the same time, I would just look wrong, I think. I don't think my face is suited for it. But we'll see. Maybe. Probably not, though. I'd say it's a solid 0.2% chance. Yeah, I drink tea slowly as well. I usually just sort of get distracted on other things and don't finish it, which is difficult. What vehicles do you think benefit from artificial survivability? Well, pretty much everything with weak armor does a lot. There's some vehicles more than others, of course, but vehicles especially that have lots of open space and a lot of crew definitely do. Automatic's good because it's hard to one-shot like that. I think anything really likes things like the BTR are good. Hellcat can be situationally effective. Orbal's good because I mean it doesn't set off fuses. There's a lot of them that really have artificial survivability. Yeah, everything that's very lightly armored below sort of APHE fuse range is really effective. LVT as well, great beginner vehicle on that same basis. So it's got a lot of there's a lot of A lot of vehicles that work from it. Kyle, yeah, I guess so. The difficulty, well, actually, I think it's probably a good thing about that my name is on, well, my online name is Oxy, is that I'm impossible to Google almost, which is very, very nice, I think. Um, I know Eckhart Tolle, well, I don't know him personally, but I know of him. He once said, "Words reduce reality to something the human mind can grasp, which isn't very much." Um, I don't really think I'm in the sort of position to say if a kind of philosophical concept is true or not. Um, I don't really have an answer for that. I think I need to think about it. I don't like answering such questions quite quickly. Um, it takes a while, I think. I like thinking about things. Otherwise, you sort of, you know, you miss things in your reasoning, which, you know, is never a good thing, I think, unless, well, it depends on what you're doing, but I like to wait. Um, and, you know, form conclusions better after time. You can tell my brain is not on its, not on its sort of peak performance right now. How good is my Latin? Weak, but I know some of it. I only really know about Latin due to lexicography of words. I quite like lexicography, so sort of learning word origins is quite fun. So I know a bit on that basis, but not too much to have a conversation or anything. Um, what maps work best for low tier, low velocity guns? Uh, it really just depends on the sight lines rather than the map. As long as you put your vehicle in a narrow sight line, or at least around an area where enemies appearing, excuse me, will be from a, well, from a close range, that's really the best spot you can be at. It doesn't need to be the tiniest map for that to work, but to position yourself around a city, for example. So, for example, you've got Tunisia that can has the city in the C point or the A point. I think it's the C point or the A point. I can't remember. You can kind of put yourself around an environment where the sight lines are narrow, or you could sort of try and snipe from the middle of the map. So it's not really about the maps themselves, but where you put yourself in the map. And I think so. There's not really maps that have a great universal. This map is great for this playstyle. Most maps have areas where you can play at close range, and I think yeah, it's just finding that sight line to really make it work. And a lot of the maps do sort of accommodate for that, which is nice. I like that. Um, yeah, it can be interesting. It's a nice thing to study. I think it's good to no, it's just nice to think about, and also makes you quite good at general knowledge because if you know the root of some words, you'll recognize what other random words mean based on the root, so you can sort of get their sort of term from them, which is nice. I like that. It's quite fun. I miss the chase. I like the chase. That was a good show. Pointless thing to say, I suppose, on a War Thunder stream, but nevertheless, I liked it. Um, the chase is great. I love the chase. Yeah, I love like the what I love about it is just the hosts are brilliant. They're all just kind of they're mean to a degree, but they're also nice. And it's like they're very self-aware in how they come across and how intelligent they are, and they are like really open with people about like I think some of them even feel bad when they catch people sometimes because it's like they tried really well or whatever, and it's just I love it. It's a good feedback loop for a show because there's tension and the people. It's not like Eggheads where you have someone like CJ being like insufferable on it, but all of the people who do the chase are just fun. They're nice to watch, and I feel like they're people that you could have a conversation with and like be friendly with outside of their kind of position as um, intelligent personalities, and I that adds a lot to it for me. So I really like they are like kind bullies, yeah. They're very self-aware bullies, and I think I really like it for that. It's a really good show, really good show. Um, Need tips for the L44 A1A1? Um, well, it's difficult because it's a vehicle that's ultimately versatile in that there's nothing you objectively can't do with it. Thermals work great, gun works great, mobility works great, armor doesn't work great. It's also starting with mitigating the less effective armor is probably a good start. Um, so you can sort of well, there's not really a huge amount you can do on the front of the Leopard. Trying to engage in sniping hull down works because there's less ability to get one shot through the turret. Very, very easy to get one shot through the hull. So that can be a way to play if you are feeling a bit, well, if you are getting killed a lot in it. Can definitely work, although it is difficult because not every map allows for that particular environment to engage in. That definitely helps. You to utilize, well, you've got your thermals, you've got the laser rangefinder, that really helps speed up engaging, especially at long range. If you can hide the hull, snipe with it, that's a really good way to play. Another thing that I will recommend if you aren't that familiar with top tier in general is to not rely on your thermals constantly, because it's a really good, well, not really good, but it's really easy to stick in your gun sight because of thermals, and that way you're losing peripheral vision in your third person view, looking around corners and stuff, because you are just focused on the narrow cone in front of you to utilize thermals. So I would only use it if you're scanning ridgelines or you're looking sort of quite intensely at one area of the map. I wouldn't stick with it the full time. Use your binoculars, scan around the map. Don't rely too much on it. Don't stick in the thermal view because it will limit your perspective of the map and you will get shot before too long. Apart from that, there's not a huge amount to really say on the vehicle because there's nothing it really can't do. It just comes down to your reaction times, your map knowledge. If you get that tank in a good spot, it will do the work for you. But if you are struggling, I would hide the hull, stay at range, snipe, and be very aware, well, be very wary of the other vehicles around you. Because if you're too streamlined and sticking in the thermals, it becomes quite difficult to get a full kind of area, well, fuller perspective on the area around you. And I think that's an important thing to counter as well. Bradley Walsh is great. Someone I sort of dated once, sort of their dad worked with Bradley Walsh, and apparently he wasn't very nice, and that made me really upset. That's probably a core part of why our relationship broke down. I love Bradley Walsh. He's like I don't know, he's like an uncle that's always nice to you, and it's sort of got you some fudge today, and it's like, oh, that's very nice, thanks. That's the kind of guy I feel Bradley Walsh should be. A nice man's. How do I win? How do you win what? Let me know. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. 10 more minutes, I think. Got a little bit of time before we wind down. I'm very tired today, so I don't really have many words left. Not many spoons, I guess. Not many spoons. Is the VT-12 a good tank? I don't know if it's a good tank, but it's a fun tank, which I think is a bit of a different distinction. Because it's one of those vehicles that you can just do things in that you can't do with other vehicles. It's not necessarily the most capable vehicle or reliable to win matches, but it's fun. It's fun because you can zip around the map really quickly, double tap people with the guns, and that can be really fun. Excuse me, and I like it for that. I don't think it's a vehicle to buy if you want like the most effective vehicle in the world to win matches and do that kind of thing. But if you like to just zip around, have a bit of fun, and knock people out in funny ways, then it's a vehicle that works for that. Because again, it's a vehicle that you don't feel bad about yourself when you die while using it, because you play it, you die, and it's like, sure, you're expected to. It's the VT-1. It's a vehicle that's incredibly weak, very, very fragile, and needs to be played in such a way that you are in the line of fire pretty much constantly. So, yeah, it's good for that. It's good to kind of wind down with, as even when you fail, it can be funny sometimes. So, yeah, I think it's a fun one, but not necessarily a good one. How do I win War Thunder? Well, I guess there are some ways to answer that question, but it's a very broad answer, I think. And I don't know if I can really answer it in the most honest way I want to answer it, because there is an answer to that. I think there is an answer to that. Um, but it depends on you, and it sort of depends on what ultimately you want from the game. So what is it, Mr. 007, that you want from this game ultimately? What's your win condition, or sort of something you enjoy that would be, I guess, winning for you? Um, what do you think about from RPE? What do you think about Soviet tanks, specifically World War II ones? Um, Depends on the vehicle. I don't like or dislike all of them in the sense that giving a kind of a blanket answer probably wouldn't do everything justice. I really like them. I think they're fun to use, and there's rarely gaps in the line that really suffer. Um, I like them a lot. I think they are limited very much by their gun depression, and it make excuse me, it's made even worse by pretty much all of the vehicles having the same um, drawback of having low gun depression. So it's they are limited in that sense, but they're generally very aggressive. They've got great armor, good guns, and if you know where to put vehicles on the map, they can work incredibly well. And I think that it's a really well worth a good tree to go down, and I recommend it absolutely. And yeah, I like those vehicles. They just I don't know they click for me. The one shot potential is really really good. So if you know where to aim, know where to put the vehicle, Russian tanks will work really well for you. And yeah, I think it's worth going through the line. I think absolutely. Um, War Thunder partnership. Well, make videos, stream, and if you meet the requirements, you can get a little bit more help. Um, you're welcome. You're welcome, RP. What's the best way to use tank destroyers? It depends on the tank destroyer itself, really. Um, Again, it kind of there are some tank destroyers that work incredibly differently to others, so I don't think I can answer that in like a blanket way. Um, if you can be a bit more, excuse me, specific for the TDs you like, or sort of want to know about, let me know. I can try and help. I've got a few more minutes left before I have to round up for today. Let me know. Um, Churchill AVR re-win. Well, maybe it's a vehicle that would be difficult to add, but it would not be impossible because its range is limited to a few hundred meters. Um, it would have to be, you know, well, it's difficult because what you could do with it is because it has very good armor, you could put it at a very low BR to the point where enemy vehicles would have to get very close to it to knock it out, to be within the range of the mortar. So it would work in that regard, but it would not be very fun to play and aim, I think, because it's just so tedious to aim a gun like that. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I think it may bring more tedium than it's worth to really use it. But maybe, I'm not sure. Will camo nets be added even for things that cover open top vehicles? Maybe. I mean, it's a difficult thing to add for every vehicle because it means sending the models back, that kind of thing. It's a very long process. It could happen down the line, but I don't think it's distinctly a priority right now because there are other things to kind of focus on in game development and not so much in regards to cosmetic stuff because it doesn't really affect the game that much to the same extent. So I think it's not a priority, but not an impossibility at the same time, is what I would probably say to that. Um, Thoughts on microwaving tea? Depends on what milk you use. If you don't use milk, it can be okay, but with some milks, it just makes it horrible. So, I probably wouldn't be one to go for that. I'd rather just make another cup of tea, really. When Rank to America video coming? Soon, soon, hopefully. Probably within a week, 2 weeks, maybe. We'll see. It depends when I can kind of get into the right headspace to do it. Maybe not too, maybe not too long. We'll see. We will see. Um, I can't make lions at BR37. I'm getting a consistent 2 to 3 kills a game. You should be making a bit more than that. What are you playing specifically? Because you should be making a bit more than that. Well, also it depends on how many times you're dying, I suppose. But let me know. Um, how does the number of KFCs compare? I don't. I think I've been to like one KFC in the last like 5 years. I don't really know. I don't process them around me. They're like the pavement. They're just kind of there, and I don't notice. I think there's less in Germany, at least in my city, because there's a lot more kind of different styles of restaurant. Uh, so yeah, there's not too many. I think UK probably has more, but I'm not. I can't really say. Russia, Italy, and Germany. It still mostly depends on the vehicles and lineups that you're playing, because some vehicles have higher repair costs. Might have higher, well, lower uh, silver line rates and that kind of thing. So maybe it's down to that a little bit, but I'm not sure. It depends on exactly what you're playing. Um, did you just call KFC a restaurant? Yes, I did. Um, is the watermelon in the fridge still? Yeah, it is. It's still there. It's because it's just being constantly refrigerated. It's not like it's not gross yet, so we'll see. Maybe it won't last another week, but we will see at some point. Hopefully it will remain in some form. We'll see. Maybe there are some plans. Maybe there are some things we can do. I, we should not get into the. I don't have much agency in the conversation with McDonald's and uh, KFC. I don't really go there very much. I don't like restaurants. I don't really like consuming food outside of places. Um, Mike should smash the watermelon. Maybe it would be difficult to do, and there would be a lot of cleaning up to do. But we could try and do that. Um, Maybe we'll see. Maybe there are some plans. What are you drinking? Bit of Yorkshire tea, which I am just about finished with. I think we will round up in a second here. It's been a long 2 hours. What's felt like a long 2 hours. I think I've been I don't know, sleepy today. It's a strange time at the moment. I think in lots of ways. Um, you're gonna stream on your own channel again sometime soon? Maybe. I might. I'm not really sure. Um, can't finish that sentence because it sounds bad, but maybe at some point I can do some more streams on my own channel. I'm not sure. Uh, is the Soviet B-25 good? Yes, it is. It's a good sort of line earner because I mean, good defensive guns. You can knock out. Excuse me. You can knock out ground units. Very well defended. You can get some fighters too. It's a really really good one. It's good if you're not really very confident with the game as well because it means that even if the gunners will do some work even if you're not really confident or I guess capable of something. So yeah, it's good in that basis. It's good for that. I um I recommend it definitely. When will Brits get more vehicles in the future? I can't really answer that in much more clarity. I think. Um, Oxy, what do you pick? The ability to fly or go invisible? Well, flying, I couldn't really do much else if I was flying apart from get to a different location quicker. Invisible would let me do more things, I guess, and just sort of. I really like the idea of walking around supermarkets and like department stores when they're closed. I don't know why I like that. I've always wanted to do that, so I'd probably go invisible. Um, it would let me do things I couldn't otherwise. Not that I can't fly, but you know what I mean. There's less application, I suppose. Oh yeah, Yorkshire tea. Let's go. I agree. It's very nice. Um, not quite that many hours played. Some good guesses though recently. Are tracers good with 7mm? Not really. I mean, generally they do very, very little damage. For lower calibers, you want like anything incendiary is going to do way better, or even AP. Tracers do very little in terms of damage, so it's good to avoid those when you can, I think. Anyway, one or two more, and I will shuffle off for the day, I think, and get back to my other stuff that I need to do. Anything else? Any final comments? Final War Thunder related comments? And I will let you get on with your day, as I take up enough of it as it is, I guess. So yeah, bit cold now. Sad. Will there ever be more AIs added to ARB? Maybe. I'm not sure. It's nice to have more stuff to do because fighters can't really sway the match in terms of knocking out heavy ground units. So yeah, maybe it's a possibility. I don't know if it's really something that will happen, but it's certainly not impossible, I think. Definitely. Make sure you have a good day. You too. You too. Are you reading anything good at the moment? I'm reading a couple of things. I'm reading a sort of loose poetry book called Accident Dancing, which is quite good. My office book, and I don't have an office book at the moment. And I'm also reading Where the Crawdads Sing, which I've heard is very, very good. It's kind of slow so far, but it's a good book. It's a nice different perspective, very visual book as well. So I'm enjoying that. Yeah, so I'm reading those two. I recommend both. Accident Dancing is very good so far as well. Some very good ones in there. I do read. I do be reading. Reading's fun. It sort of makes your brain work better. Your imagination is working, I guess. Anyway, yes, I should probably shuffle off for today. Thank you all for being here. Hope you had a lovely day. I hope you will continue to have a lovely day. And final question. If you were to recommend one single book, what would it be? I quite like The Wasp Factory. Read that by Ian Banks. Get it right now. Maybe not right now, but in the future. I recommend. Pick it up. Anyway, thank you all very much for being here. Sorry it's been a bit more of a slower one, I think. I'm a bit foggy today. Hopefully that'll be less the case in the future. But we'll see. Thank you very much. And I will see you all very soon, hopefully. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.